Yeah, so I'm gonna share my journey going from being a UX designer to visual developer, no-code developer, or digital designer. There's a lot of names or roles that kind of cover the same thing. And let's start at the beginning. So that is me with a bit longer hair.
Oh, wow.
And just after presenting my master thesis, which I did in design and innovation at the Technical University, which is not the usual way into UX design or web design. But that is the way I took, and it gave me a foundation of looking at the user friendliness and user involvement in the design process. So really the ground rules of design, which of course both apply to physical as well as digital design. So that was me just finishing, and then after that you of course need to find somewhere to work so you can apply all of the things that you've learned. And I spent some time looking for different opportunities. At this point, I wasn't 100% set of what I wanted to do, but had a few different ideas. And while I was looking, I saw this ad, probably on Instagram or Facebook, for a design competition for Mikola. And I was like, I have a lot of time, so let's make some sketches. And this is back when I actually sketched out the things in hand. And I sat on one of the Mikola bars actually and sketched out the ideas to really be in the zone. And I also made an XD design for this and connected the screens so you could kind of see this was my idea for an app for Mikola. And that turned out pretty good. I got the first place, which means that I got this huge cardboard sign that said I got to go to Warpex and drink a lot of beer. They sent me 20 cases of beer at one delivery, so I had to find places to put all of that. But it was nice. It was supposed to be 1 year's use, but it took a bit longer to get through. And that also landed me, which was not really a part of the prize, but it landed me a job at Riziki, where I started as a UX designer. And so that was my chance to apply some of the things that I learned and to work on projects for real clients and to make some cool things. And I'm still at Riziki, so of course it's the happy ending. I'm still doing cool things. But in the beginning, I was working with, of course, UX and UI design, which are very often together, even though it's two different disciplines. But I was also doing graphic design, illustration, branding, and a bit of 3D design, motion design, and other innovation projects. And for all of the projects where the end result was something that needed to be developed, the project shared that we would, in the design team, do the design, and then we would hand it over to developers who would make it real. And then there would be a lot of back and forth of, this button was not supposed to do like this, and what about on this breakpoint, what should we do then? And all of these small things that you sometimes can't really communicate directly in just a single design, or even two designs that show mobile and desktop, if that's the issues. But we were doing a lot of different projects, and until one day where we had also, after been targeted by Webflow for a lot of these ads constantly filling up my feed, decided to say, okay, let's give it a try. And I set off an afternoon, as you can see here in my calendar. That is the real event I found in my calendar, where I just said, okay, I'm gonna binge watch all of the Webflow videos and then see if it makes sense for us to use. And so I did, and they're very nice videos. And that was kind of my first step into Webflow and into actually making the things that we design into real things that can be used, that we can put on the internet. And we started out with a few kind of test projects where we would build a small site and starting from a template and editing some things and just to get started, to get a feeling of it. And then we did more like bigger projects and more complete websites using Webflow, and had a lot of success with that. So we just kept going and adding more, getting more projects with it and adding more things to the Webflow projects. Yeah. So now we are making websites, and that also means that I have to do a lot of other things, because when you're doing a website, you also have to think about cookies, you have to think about analytics, you have to think about speed and users. Maybe they want them to be able to sign in to access some features, and you have to think about databases, images, embeds, and plugins, and all of these things that when I was just doing the design, I didn't really have to care that much about this part. But now that we're building the websites, of course, these things are connected. So there was, I didn't take all of it at once, of course, but it was kind of adding more blocks onto into my toolbox and expanding my work. So that was part of the journey of actually making the stuff real. Then we come to 2022, which is the first time I tried for the Webflow Speed Build Challenge. In this year, I managed to get to the qualifiers round, so the top 16, and you can see me here competing against Ankita and two of the other challenges. Ankita got third place that year, so it was nice. And the way that, just to take a few steps back, so Webflow, they have this annual conference where they very much in like Apple style present, this is how good we did last year, and these are our ambitions for the next year, and then there'll be talks and different things. So it's like a very conference format, and one of the events that happen is the Speed Build Challenge, and what that means is that they will ask designers and Webflow developers all over the world to send an application where you record yourself building out a part of a website in 10 minutes. And then they'll choose the best ones of those applications and invite them to compete live against each other. And I actually have here the link to my submission, which is what I did to get qualified. We have just made this super simple website, but I added the interaction. So you have this little looking glass. You have the idea is you have to find Denmark in the map, and if you go to Denmark, then you get this. So that was my application, which I sent to qualify, and they seem to like it. So they but this year I only got to the top 16, so I didn't proceed from the qualifiers round. And that same year is also the year when ChatGPT came out, and as everybody else, I had a lot of fun jumping into that, and I really gained a lot from it by making ChatGPT teach me how to do JavaScript, because I had a lot of ideas for creative programming that I couldn't quite do myself, but I could describe how I wanted it to work, and I had this iterative process of asking it to do something and then explaining it to me so I would understand it, and then I would get more ideas and just add a bunch of things on top of that. So I had for some time considered and tried a few different ways of learning JavaScript, but this was what worked really well for me to understand how it works and to make some nice interactions as well. So I have the two here is just I have on my own little playground, and that has also taught me to do some things that we have used on client projects. For instance, the interaction here with the phone that shows text messages popping up. disappearing as well. Is an example of that, and that really just was also an important part of my journey, because that took me a step further into the code, and that also opens up a bunch of new doors and the new areas that I didn't consider before, but now I'm opening up. So kind of in the same way that using Webflow opened up a new set of areas that I had to into and work with. Now I took a step into the code world. And then last year we had the Webflow Speed Build Challenge again, and I also applied for that, and I can also show you this build that I did for my application. This year I did a bit better, so I got the third place, which means that I get this little trophy, which I have sitting at home. And so it was a similar format. I submitted an application, and then we had 1 versus 1, where we had to find the challenger who would represent Europe, Middle East, Africa region, and was quite intense because we ended up in a tie, because I got the audience vote in the first round, and then we had a tiebreaker where I got more votes from the judges, but the other guy got the audience vote. But I managed to get a few more points. So that means that I got a seat at the semifinals. So they flew me to San Francisco, and I got to meet a bunch of other people in the Webflow community and compete. So now it was not only live on YouTube, but live on stage in San Francisco during their annual conference. And this it was super intense. I think we had 10 minutes to build something, and we got one of the most. We agreed that we got one of the most difficult prompts. It was the prompt was that we should build a mobile app UI for a movie with a fire theme that also has a continuous scrolling interaction. We have 10 minutes. So that's not a lot of apps for movies out there to reference in my mental library. But I can show you what I did for my application, which is this is what I did. So here I had to do a hero section for a toy store with an air theme that has a continuous scrolling interaction as well. So I decided that it's an air theme, so it has to be a drone. And I got Midjourney to generate some nice retro graphics for me, and I have this cute scrolling interaction. That is what I submitted for my application this year, and it was also a 10-minute build, but of course there I had time to plan it out and to actually prepare and do it all. And make some nice assets for it. And so that also just takes me to working as a visual developer or no-code or digital designer, whatever you want to call it, is just means that I have a very broad toolbox, and also I'm very curious about this stuff and adds more things and tries things out. So here I put, I think, most of the tools I use to create things. So of course Webflow to build websites, Figma to design, Miro, Lottie and After Effects, Spline and Blender 3D, Toddle and Make. A Toddle which I'm starting to look into now and trying out, and also share a sneak peek of some of the things that we've been working on for Toddle. And Make is also something that we've really taken in to add this extra level of connectivity to our Webflow projects. So connecting a form to send the data into the customer's database, stuff like that. And so let's do a little sneak peek of what we've been building in toddle. So we are working on this UI kit and with some basic components that you can use in your toddle projects. So to really get started off in a good way and have a strong foundation, and so you can focus on the fun stuff. And on this page, I've just included all of the different components that we've made so far. And of course, we need a button component. And this is not just a simple button, it's a button that has two different states. It can be a secondary or primary button, and it can have an icon. The icon can be on either side, and the icon will adapt its color so it fits into one of the 8 or 10 different colors that the button can also be. So this should cover a lot of different use cases that you want for a button component. I'll show you in a bit how it works as well, if we have time for that.
Sure.
And we've also been working on a modal component that you can click so it pops up, and this of course uses the button components nested inside. So we have that as well. And inputs is also something that you need, and to get inputs right, of course, you also need to have good states of hover states, focus states, labels that you can click and hover to get the tooltips, all that. And input checkboxes and selects. So yeah, it's just some of the components that you want. Also a card component. So if we jump into the project here. So say we wanted to insert a new button. We can add here button component, and we'll get it in here with nothing inside. This is the default state. So we can put a text on the button. It could be even a button. And we could say we want this to be a gray button. We will turn gray. Here it's referencing the different colors that are defined in the theme. So you could also add your own color if you don't feel like you want another. And of course we need an icon for this on the right. So we can add an icon here with the attributes. And let's grab the icon. Here I'm just going to grab it from Reloom. We copy this SVG. Yes. So now we have the cool UNAR button. And we can still change the color if we think it should be another color, or if we think it should be a secondary button, we can change that as well. And it will adapt the color of the icon so it fits.
Super cool.
Yeah. I think that was the last slide. So.
A small question regarding your design process. Where do you start when you got sort of a brief from a client or a task ahead? What do you do? Do you start in Figma? Do you start by hand or whatever?
So most of the time we start in Miro. We use Miro. Of course, FigJam can do some of the same things, but we start out with sometimes we do like a short branding session to define, and where we have different ideas, and then we continue looking at sitemap and architecture, which we do with Miro, as well as wireframing. We also do in Miro to keep it low fidelity and have a lot of flexibility to put in references, screenshots, and comments, and all of this. And so we try to get the outline right in Miro before we jump into Figma.
you had a Game of Thrones logo in your slides. It's really hard for myself to not interrupt you, but
yes.
what is it about? Like what kind of application or?
So we did actually, it was together with Mikela, Mikela Game of Thrones collaboration, where we had to do a landing page for the Game of Thrones themed beers that Mikela did, where we also got to play a lot of around with all of the official Game of Thrones assets and making a custom scrolling interaction on their web shop. So that was really nice. There's a version of the page live right now. It has changed a few times because they did a few drops. So this one, House of the Dragon. So we have this House Mikela of Denmark. So right now it's a dragon feed because of the House of the Dragon.
Who are doing the assets, by the way?
This asset was one of the official Game of Thrones assets, and then we played a bit around with them within what they allowed us to animate them, and then Mikela has also done like some of the assets. So after these illustrations, we got their designer Keith to do, and then in the background here, that is some of the official Game of Thrones assets. It's a new image.
Nice.
But yeah, that was a super fun project to work on, and there was also a project where I mostly just did the design and then had our developer sweat to make it work. Yeah.
Are you going to compete this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a nice experience, and so one of the differences between 2023 and 2022 was in what you could do and what was allowed in the challenge. So in 22, you could only use native Webflow features, and they gave you a pack of assets. That is what you could use for the challenge. But last year, you could also use third-party scripts, so you could put in GSAP or Spline or all other things. Basically, if it's freely available on the internet, you can use it in your project, and also you could use any assets. So that allowed for a lot more things you could do, of course. And this year I think it would be fun to participate again, especially if they keep it very open so you can do other things. I'm kind of working on my own library of cool interactions, so I could have some of those things ready and as my secret trick I pull up. It's gonna hopefully give me an advantage.
There are quite a few sort of landing page builders out there, Framer being one of them. Why Webflow?
So to me, I think that the strength of Webflow is that it's built very much on the foundation of the web. So what you do in Webflow is almost one-to-one to writing the CSS and to putting all the HTML structure. So, and that just gives me a good feeling of, I know that this is solid, and if it breaks, I can understand exactly why. But if I do it in the right way, it shouldn't break. And I haven't played that much around with Framer, but I as far as I understand it, it's more in line with Figma in terms of how you build up the site.
Maybe to add a little bit, we actually used Webflow cross-binding. One of the reasons was actually more because of the CMS system that's behind. Famous CMS system is really crap. It's not really geared towards a big organization. And we had a marketing department who actually had like a kind of like a front end. We had like a headless kind of setup there, but then doing something in Webflow was really fast for us to actually make a campaign website that still could integrate with the CMS. So that was actually one of the reasons why we went with Webflow compared to Figma.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, and speaking of ecosystems, what ties into Webflow? Are there any sort of, native CMS is quite good to understand, but are there any sort of other plugins that you use to make it more efficient or scalable or whatever?
Yeah, so of course, depending on what you need, there's a lot of different things. So the FinSuite attributes is a great example of someone who has like a team that has built these free JavaScript libraries that you can use to expand the Webflow functionality. So if you have a collection of blog posts on your page and you want to be able to filter that, you can't do that natively. You can do some things natively in Webflow, but it's not that advanced. So then they have made this attribute solution, so you can just put attributes, and that will allow you to do a more dynamic like filtering, for instance, on your project. And then we also have some teams at Bloom. They're doing a lot of components that you can copy paste. So they have this huge component library where you can just copy and paste these into your project. And then you also know that these components are responsive out of the box, and you can style them to look how you want. And in terms of animations, a lot of people like stuff like GSAP, and which is just, of course, a general JavaScript library that you can apply to any web project, but it allows you to do some extra things on top of what you can natively do in Webflow. And then they also have a good community of people sharing different things. So with the Made in Webflow, where you can find projects that people have showcased, and some of them you can clone, so you can just take what they've done and put it into your own project. And there's a lot of cool things.
I once heard someone say that you should do animations in CSS and not JavaScript. That kind of breaks that rule, doesn't it? The other library you're showing.
The GSAP?
Yeah, it's like a JavaScript library for animation. I don't have strong
You go
opinion.
right ahead and make that animation.
I could do that one. I can show that.
Yeah, you can do all of those. It's
Yeah,
fun.
exactly.
Yeah.
So GSAP is one of the very popular ones because they have a lot of things you can do building